Okay, in this video, we're going to learn how to do some basic to advanced labeling in both ArcGIS and QGIS. So let's start with ArcGIS. So this is our point layer we generated from the previous video. So here I'm going to label the points because the way they are here, you won't know which point is which. When you place a label on them, it easily communicates the names of the points. To label, you need to go to the property of the layer. So right click and go to the properties. So from the properties, you will go to the label tab. Make sure you're under the label tab. Then select label this layer. You use the first option, label all features in this layer. So here you can easily select the name of the field you want to use to label. So let's use the state field. That's the state column in the attribute table. So select it and you can do the formatting of the text if you want to. So here I'm just going to click on OK after selecting the labeling field. So as you can see, the labeling has been done successfully. So this is just a very basic label. If I wish to edit the labeling, I will just go back to properties and then adjust the settings to suit what I want. So let's assume I'm going to increase the font size to maybe 11. I can also change the color if I want to bold, italize, and do some other things. Even the placement, if I need to adjust the placement position, let's say I need it to be somewhere to the center. This is offset, this is place label. Let me use this option and see place label on top of the point. So I'll just select that and click OK. And I can shift this, click on apply to see the changes. So you can see the font has increased and also the labeling position has also changed. Let me quickly go back to the placement, and then I think this option should be better. I can change the location, maybe prefer top left or bottom center. I think we should use top center or bottom center. Let me use bottom center and see. So select it, click OK, click on apply, bottom center. So feel free to play around with the settings and selecting the best that works for you. So this is just a basic label in ArcGIS. So let's see how to do basic labeling of our map in QGIS. So I'll go to the properties for that layer. Then under the label tab, I'm going to select single label. So from the single label, I will now select the attribute field I want to use for the labeling. So I'm going to select the state names of the labeling. And then I can easily click on apply or click on OK. And you can see the labeling has been done. So if I'm not satisfied, I can easily go back to the property, then the labeling tab, then I can continue with the customization of the labeling. If I want to increase this text, just do what we did in the previous in the ArcGIS section. I will just come to the text tab and then the size of the text I will now increase it to maybe whatever font I feel is okay. If I click on OK, it will increase the size. So also the placement, if I wish to change the placement, there are different options to choose from. So here under offset from point, I'm going to put it to the bottom. So I'll select this bottom option and click on apply. If I wish to increase or decrease the offset distance in X and Y direction, I will just set the distance here. So let me just set the offset distance in Y direction to 10, and then let's see what will happen. As you can see, is further away from the point by 10. But I think 0 is just fine for this purpose. So this is okay. So feel free to play around with the settings to get what you want. So now let's do some advanced labeling. So assuming this label that we have done If I go open up the attribute table, you see that the state field is what I have used to label the point, just like that. So assuming I need to make all these capital instead of these lowercase letters, I need to capitalize all the letters, and it's a requirement or it's a must by maybe the person you're working for, maybe your boss or your client. He needs the labeling to be in capital case, not a lowercase. So one option would be to come and edit the attribute from beginning to the end and capitalize them. But if you have thousands of points, this will take a very long time. So, but you can easily do this using some advanced labeling function. So that function is called expression. So if you go back to your properties of that layer, you should be able to see this button expression. Remember, this is under ArcGIS, so expression. So instead of labeling field, instead of using the attribute columns, let's use an expression. So if you click on this button expression, you'll see that there are about two sections that you can do the settings. The first section is the field, while this second section is the expression section. So this is where you're going to type in your expression. So the expression actually supports three different parsers. So you have the JavaScript parser, Python parser, Visual Basic script parser. So Python is a popular scripting language, so I would recommend you to use Python. Python is like more of a general purpose programming language, and it works both in ArcGIS and then in QGIS. So here I'm going to use the Python parser, but even though you use a JavaScript, if you prefer JavaScript or Visual Basic, you can still use it. So make sure you select Python parser here if you're going to follow me in this video. Then I need to type the expression or a function that will convert these attributes that are in lowercase to capital case automatically and do the labeling with that. So instead of changing the attribute column manually, I'm just going to use the Python expression to do the conversion into uppercase. So here what I need to do is to write a function. And how do I know the function to write? You can know that by checking the documentation of the ArcGIS online. So if you check the documentation page for expressions, you will see a lot of examples that you can copy and then manipulate within your map. So here on the documentation page for building label expression for ArcGIS, I scroll down here. I have a typical example of a Python and Visual Basic script and JavaScript codes that can convert your attribute column into lowercase. So, but remember, in our own case, we wanted it to be in uppercase. It means we are going to change this function to uppercase. Likewise, for JavaScript, you need to change the appropriate function code, and Visual Basic too. You need to change this and change this if you're going to use that. So, but since I'm going to use Python, so I'll just copy this, then go back to my map, and then here I'm going to paste in that very code. So define label. Then this name is actually the name of the field I want to use. So remember, in this case, our field name is state. So I'll simply change this to state, and then I'm also changing this to state. So we are defining a Python function here, writing expression in the language. Then what I need to do now is to change this to upper instead of lower, since our requirement is to change it to upper. So this is a basic function in Python that converts a string to upper. So then I'm now returning the result of that function here. So if I click on verify, it says carriage return are not allowed in the simple expression. So it means I need to check this advance. I need to check this advance button to be able to use the carriage return expression. I think it has added something for us. We need to remove this. So we are there. So if I click on verify, as you can see, the sample has shown us in capital letter, in which the actual text in the attribute table is in lowercase, but it has converted it to uppercase in this case. So this is just a typical example of what you can do. You can pretty much do advanced stuff where you can do some calculations and combine different layers, different attribute columns together. So here that I have verified it, I can just click on OK to apply it. Click on apply, and then you will see that the result has taken effect automatically. So if I click on OK to apply the changes. So all the labeling has been converted to uppercase. in which if I check the attributes still remain in lowercase. So this is how to go about converting using advanced labeling expression to convert your lowercase attribute entries into uppercase with ease. So let's quickly do the same thing in QGIS. In QGIS, we don't want the attributes naming in lowercase. We needed it to be in uppercase. So remember, if you want to do this manually, you need to change this. Just click edit and then edit the table and convert the whole of this text to uppercase. But this will take a long time if you have thousands or millions of attributes. So an effective way is to use an expression. So if you go back to the properties for that layer, so under the labeling, so instead of label with the field attribute, the attribute of the field, you click on this expression button to label with expression. So here we are labeling with just the state as we have done before. So here you can also use Python functions here, as I've mentioned earlier, as you can see here. But ArcGIS, but in QGIS, you may not have to go that far because there are some pre-built functions that you can use. And among them, there is a simple one that can easily convert your attribute column into from lowercase to uppercase. And I have it here. So if you come here under strings, there is a function that says upper. So double click on it. This function will enable you to convert your lowercase strings to uppercase string. Then I will need to come to field and value and then select the name of the column I want to use for the labeling. Remember, we're using state. So double click on state. Then you need to close the braces. So uppercase, this is a function in QGIS which is found under strings and it converts lowercase character to uppercase character. So we are using expression to convert this state column into uppercase and label our map with that. So remember that in ArcGIS we use a Python function. So here that is a pre-built function. That's why we are not using the Python function here. So when you type this, just click on OK, and then you will see that the label width has now changed. Instead of labeling with a column here, we're now labeling with an expression. So click on OK, click on Apply, and then you see that all the labels would have changed from lowercase to uppercase automatically. So this is how to go about doing that in QGIS. Now let's look at another advanced labeling technique. Here I'm going to use two different fields for the labeling. If I go back to the attribute tables, I have the name field and then I have the state field. So let's assume we want to use this name field and this state field to label the map instead of just using just one field. So we can easily do that by using the expression. So if I go back to the property of that layer, I will now go to the expressions. So under the expression, you will get here, since we are going to use a different syntax this time around, and remember the syntax is just to label the map with two attributes columns. So here we are going to use the name and then the state field to label the map. So this syntax will be deleted. Then since the syntax is not going to be based on the function, so we need to uncheck this advanced button. So the first line for the labeling is going to be the state, the name, so the name attribute. Then we need to concatenate the state column too, but we want it to be on the second line. So for example, this will be the first line. Then on the second line, we'll now have the state column on the second line. So you do that by simply concatenating. That's plus, then the return, then the new line character. So these are actually expressions in Python using the Python parser. If you're using JavaScript, it will be different. Or if you're using a Visual Basic, it will be different. So remember that this is just a simple Python syntax. So in Python, /r means return, /n means new line. So new line, return new line, then we now concatenate it to the second column, which is this. So the syntax is just the first column, that is the name attribute. Then we are now putting the second column on the second line using the Python parser. So if I click on verify, you will see that the sample text is just as expected. So the first line, which is the name column, then the state column is now below it. So if I click on OK, and then if I click on apply, you'll see that the naming would have changed automatically. So here I have the names of the labeling is done with 2 columns. For example, if I go back to the attribute table and then I take it to the left editor, you see that this is INEC Sokoto headquarter Sokoto, which is here, INEC Sokoto. This is it. So this point is this line here. So INEC Sokoto, which is the first line, that's the name attribute. Then the state attribute, which is Sokoto, is underneath. So this is how to go about using 2 columns to label your map. So let's do the same thing in QGIS. So when you come back to QGIS, open up the attribute for that layer, then we need to go to expression. So instead of labeling with column name, we go to expression. So and here we need to change the expression to combine the 2 layers, the 2 fields, sorry. So here we have the attribute field. So we are going to name the attribute with the name attribute. Then the second attribute is going to be the state. So we also need to do the concatenation here. The command for doing that in QGIS is using the 2 pipes. You can type it on your keyboard or you can easily find it here. So when you click on this, this means to concatenate 2 strings. So we are concatenating, this is string concatenation. If you check the name, if you point your mouse, you see the name string concatenation. So we are concatenating 2 strings with what? We can now use a special character, which is \n for new line or \r for new line. Then we'll concatenate it again to the state attribute. So double click on state. So as you can see from the preview, the first attribute is on top, then the second attribute is right below. So this is the syntax for doing that. So if I click on OK and then apply, you see that the naming would have changed. So that is how to go about naming your attribute with 2 different fields. So if I go back to the attribute tables, and then you will see that, for example, this point Sokoto is here. Let me filter, and then Sokoto is here. So you see that the name field is on top, and then the state field Sokoto is also below, which shows that we have successfully named the map using 2 attribute columns. So if you have more attribute columns to combine in naming your map, you can also do that. It's easy as that. The syntax is just like that. So if you want to know more about the syntax, you can go to the documentation for QGIS or for ArcGIS online, and then you'll find a lot of them there. On this page, you have the expression documentation for QGIS. So here you can see the concatenation operator here. There are other operators that you can still use. So as you can see from the description, it says join 2 variables together into a string. And you can see the example there. So there are a lot of other operators, including conditionals, mathematical functions, dates. I see the example of a date here, and then some other ones. So if you need to do any advanced naming or labeling in your map, you need to study these expressions very well and use them. So I hope I'll be able to introduce you to advanced labeling expression in both QGIS and ArcGIS. I hope to see you in my next video. Thank you for watching this.